I think the overwhelming feeling amongst Fulham fans this morning is Marco Silva, stay as long as you like. Simon, you have clobbered Marco Silva in the past. Yeah. If memory serves me right, you've called him a weasel. You've called him a snake. What are you calling him now?
I don't know if I called him a weasel and a snake, but what I did, I think...
You did.
Have you got thank you, Luke.
Transcript of that.
I called him somebody that batted his eyes at other football clubs before he'd earned his right to do so. So when he went into Hull... He left once Hull got relegated, and there was a lot attributed to the fact he'd turned them around, but he still got relegated. He went to Watford, was supported at Watford, and the moment he felt like someone better was on the horizon, he left. And he also left them in a way that wasn't particularly palatable. So with all that in mind, I felt that he wasn't the right type of at the right state. Now, what you've got now is somebody that's gone away, perhaps got mature and older and wiser as a manager, and clearly sees Fulham as his opportunity. And clearly is focused on Fulham, not looking beyond Fulham, not seeing what's over someone's shoulder and better to talk to, looking at the opportunity in front of him. So you have to say that the guy that's now managing Fulham is as he was before, a capable manager. I questioned his loyalty and his integrity and the decency of the way he operated. Now you'll say, and quite rightly so, geez Louise, how can you have any regard for Watford? Because he probably would have got booted out of them by them in 6 months' time.
Oh, yeah.
That's a different discussion. Yeah. I'm talking about what he did.
Is it showing he's a Premier League manager now? Before you had your doubts?
He's certainly showing that at Fulham, he's got that team functioning. He got them out of the division with Mitrovic scoring a ridiculous amount of goals in the Championship last year. What did he score? Nearly 50 goals or something ridiculous, 40-odd goals.
Yeah.
And they've continued, but what he's got is a great... They haven't made the mistakes of the past, which is Fulham gone up with Tony Khan buying everybody for the manager and overspending and getting this embarrassment of riches that don't click. He's doing a really good job. And I like the way he operates in the media now. He's calm, he's collected, he's motivated, he's confident, he's enthused. He looks like a grown-up manager now.
Yeah, they're sixth this morning. Little Fulham, the club that everybody loves. I don't mean to be disrespectful to them. Only 13 points behind Arsenal, albeit they've played a couple of games more than Arsenal. Has he quietly rebuilt his reputation as a manager?
I think he has, and that's growing by the game at this moment in time. His recruitment's been good, as he mentioned there earlier. He's brought players in that have settled in very quickly and done a really good job for the team. I've got a friend who works at Fulham and seen him work firsthand, and he's been very, very impressed with him. He said he's one of the best he's seen working on the grass, you know. So that for me is probably the biggest recommendation. I go with what I see with my own eyes for his team and how they play. They done brilliantly last year. It would have been easy to turn around and say we'll roll with more of the same in the Premier League. He's not done that. He's gone out, he's recruited, and he's improved the side. And at this moment in time, the team are playing very well, and there's a real togetherness. You can see that from the pictures after the game yesterday.
See, I think this is a special season, Stuart, because so many are throwing themselves into the mix and having a serious tilt at it. Newcastle, obviously, a leading light in that area. Fulham, another. Brighton, another. Brentford, another. What a season. And Arsenal leading it.
Yeah, it's, as I say, and Chelsea 10th. Liverpool 7th at this stage. Quite incredible. The big hitters are all there still, you know, in and around it. Arsenal, a resurgent Arsenal, you would say, that have really got the opportunity. I'm just looking at the fixtures here, and probably the next month is quite intriguing, you know, with Man United playing Man City and Arsenal playing Spurs, Man United and Man City in the next 5 games. The next month will tell us a lot about who's got credentials to stay there and who hasn't.
Yeah. Simon, can you answer this for me? Why is it some clubs seem to take to life back in the Premier League and others struggle with it? Fulham have taken to life back in the top flight and they're loving it. Forest, after a long time away admittedly, have toiled a bit, even with all their new additions.
Well, Fulham have the added advantage of having been in the Premier League as a football club for 10, 15 years out of the last 20. Then they've been promoted, then relegated, then promoted, then relegated. So this is the third time of asking back in the last 5 or 6 years in terms of going back into the Premier League. So if they haven't learned the lessons about the key component of going into the Premier League, which is having a decent manager that's capable of managing in the Premier League, not just getting you out of the Championship, and also having a sensible recruitment policy. You had that experience yourself, mate, did you not, at Palace? Yeah. A bit up and down, up and down.
Well, I had a manager
you
could get them up, you couldn't stay.
I had a manager that wasn't capable of managing the Premier League. Did a wonderful job to get us out of the Championship, but we needed to have changed. Palace, when they went up under the new ownership after me, changed, with due respect to Ian Holloway, and put Tony Pulis in. And he knew the division, he knew his way around, and he kept him in the top flight. And then once you keep yourself in the top flight for one season, you can build upon that. Forest have gone in with a manager that's got lots of potential, that I accused of being a bridesmaid because he'd gotten to semi-finals or finals of playoffs with Swansea and not got through to win them. He's done it with Forest, but he's been bought this ridiculous amount of players. So I think you've got to look at Fulham and say, this is an operation. Nottingham Forest don't know the Premier League. They haven't been in it for 23 years.
No.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to throw a question at you. You say you had a manager that wasn't good enough and didn't know the Premier League. What about yourself and your directors? Were you good enough for the Premier League? Did you know the Premier League well enough? And how did you handle it? And did you ever question yourself?
I think that's a good question. Because ultimately, at that time, when you're talking about 17 years ago, the landscape was different in terms of technical directors and people that were around supporting the manager. What I wanted to do was go into the Premier League with absolutely no fear and no concerns about being there, entitled to be there because we were there because we got there on merit, and I wanted the manager to reflect the same attitude. He didn't seem to want to be able to do that. He had a different vantage point. But also, what I looked at was, it's very easy saying someone wasn't good enough. What I wasn't greeted with was this embarrassment of riches of being able to replace him with somebody that might be able to bridge the gap. When Palace had troubles after my time, they went to Pulis, they went to Hodgson, they went to Sam Allardyce. These guys weren't available. I got people like Joe Kinnear coming out of the woodwork saying I didn't want him. I didn't think he was the right fit for that football club or going to give me the achievements I wanted. So, yeah, of course, the failure is a sum of all its parts. So, of course, I would have been contributed in that failure. I wanted to sign Michael Carrick. I got Michael Carrick to agree to come to Palace. He didn't want to talk to Ian Dowie. So you could say, ultimately, there are reasons from both sides of the equation. But, yeah, I'd have to take some of the blame as well. Because
we've got someone with knowledge from the boardroom level. We sit here as football people. I'm from the footballing, from the grass side.
But we don't know anything, according to you lot.
I think it's important to get that opinion from him to turn around and say, look, you know, do you question yourself there or do you not?
According to you lot,
the man who you're quite aggressively pointing at, Simon Jordan.
I mean,
I like that.
In a very encouraging way.
Yes.
According to you lot, we don't know anything, except when it concurs with what you know. And then we know something.
No, it's not about sides now. You're perceiving this in the wrong way, and you're getting a little bit.
Conversation where I was attributing blame on a manager, and you went into defence mode because
I want to
once upon a time, arguably, you were a manager.
I want to broaden my horizons as a manager. So the best way to do that is to understand the people that employ you, hire and fire you.
Yes.
So that's why I asked that question.
I know, but I think that's one of the biggest skills that football management is beginning to acclimatise to, which is managing up.
Yeah.
A lot of football managers, we've spoken about this before, Stu and I, can manage down with their charges, but they can't manage up. And that's a really difficult relationship because the dynamic between a boardroom and a dugout is an important one, whether
so
they like it or not.
Sheffield United go up to the Premier League without a lot of experience in that area and finish 9th?
1 year. And what happened to them next season?
But they did it.
They did.
They took to it.
And absolutely. And what happened to Aston Villa? They went up, spent 100 million quid on the first season they went up and just stayed up by 1 millimetre. My team got relegated on the last game of the season with 3 minutes to go by someone scoring an equaliser. Otherwise, the closing door mentality, sliding door mentality might have been different for the circumstances that I was in. You can look at it and say Swansea went up, and for years they brought a brand of football up from the Championship. People said they can't do that in the Premier League. They can't pass the way they pay in the Championship. Yeah, they did. And eventually they ran out of steam. But Sheffield United went up, caught everybody cold with the way they played. Chris Wilder did a good job, then started playing hide and seek with himself, and the team got relegated.
He had to go in that direction at the very end, Stuart. He had to go in that direction. Stuart, can I just commend you, mate, at 11:15 for the bravery of that point that you made to Simon Jordan, former club owner? Because everybody's got to assume responsibility. Owners as well.
Yeah,
and he's right.
In all honesty, it wasn't meant as a criticism. I'm intrigued. I like to soak up knowledge.
Managers.
And how often do you get the chance to sit with someone who's been in the boardroom and has got a boardroom mentality?
You're absolutely right. Sadly, 3 hours every bleeding day. It's 11:15.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Alan Brazil. Thursday and Friday morning, 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.